Today I'm going to be doing a classic. You know, a lot of people have a different name for this dish. Some in the Italian-American household, they call it jambot. In Germany, they call it Weisse. Really, and that's what I love about traveling when it comes to food, because the more you travel with food, the more you see how much we have in common with every culture and every ethnicity when it comes to food. A couple of things vary. You know, they may leave out a spice or add a spice or call it different. But the techniques are usually all the same. Well, today we're doing a dish. You might call it a soup or a goulash, but it's basically zucchini and tomatoes and potatoes and onions and rice, and it's put in a pot and it's cooked down, nice and earthy dish. We're going to actually be using an apple smoked bacon today to render the flavor with the onions and cook it down and really get that flavor that we're looking for. And then, of course, later I'm going to show you how to butcher some veal. We're going to be making a nice veal stew. So I guess you could call today's show one-pot cooking kind of stew. But we have this bacon here. The bacon's been cut double ply, so it's actually thicker than what you would see in normal bacon. If on other shows I've had a full slab of bacon and showed you that when you're putting that on the grill, you can basically just kind of leave that on there and do its thing. Now we're going to cut strips of this bacon. And we're going to add a little bit of oil in here. You don't want to add too much because bacon has so much fat that it's going to release into the pan. And just continue to cut this. And apple smoked bacon is really good because it has that unique flavor profile that's really going to add to the dish here and make it better. So we put our bacon in there. All right, so let's take a look at our bacon here. Now, shallots are really good, but we're going to take an onion for this. So at the same time, we're going to take an onion. So probably take half onion. And then what we're going to do is dice that, put that right inside of the pan. And what we want to do is use the onions. Now, you could use red onions if you like with this as well. But like any onion will do it. This is a white onion. Now, immediately after we add the onions in there, we'll turn up the fire just a bit and talk about this dish. So I'm going to be using a little Texmati rice. And I'll be using a little Yukon potatoes. Now, when it comes to thickening, even in the days of my old chefhood, working with French chefs and stuff like that, we used to thicken things with potato starch. We used to always make like a mashed potato without the skin and use that as a thickener to sauces. So the starch really plays a great role in the thickening agent to anything that you want it to. So in this case, what I like about the potatoes as opposed to the rice is it gives it that nice thick film and it has some flavor. The rice gives it some texture. You bite down, you know there's a piece of rice in there. So the two of them together actually are really work well together. So what I'm going to do with this potato here, and this is a Yukon potato, and Yukons are not the highest starch content that there is. And you can get away with a red bliss potato too, making mashed potatoes with red bliss. If you travel down south, the further down south you see, the more that you'll see something like that. And the bacon is starting to render. When it renders, it'll turn brown. It'll release the applewood smoked flavor into the onions, and the potatoes will absorb it as well. Now, at the same time, since we're doing a double starch, what a lot of people don't do, we're going to put a little bit of rice in there. Now, you might have to look at this situation, and if there's not that much grease or fat in there, you might want to add a little bit of olive oil, which will help with everything. Just a little bit. And I like to throw the rice in there too because it absorbs all the flavors. Now the zucchini goes in there. Now the zucchini, you want to be sure that you cut the zucchini a bit thicker than everything else. And depending on how much seeds are in the zucchini, cut them open and I say, okay, this is nice. Sometimes you get those really big zucchinis and there's a ton of seeds in there. You don't want that because they actually make the soup bitter. In this case, we don't see much of that at all. Really nice. The flesh is firm. It's nice and white. We're good to go. So what we'll do is we'll cut half moons about that thick. And throw that right in there. This is a great dish. Now on the tomato side of things, very important to put a tomato. So what we're going to do is grab our tomato that we have. Now you could use a vine-ripe tomato. You could use any tomato that you want. You could use an heirloom tomato. And what we're going to do is just cut the tomato nice and thick. You You don't need small little pieces because by the time this is done stewing, it's just going to break up. And again, what we're really looking to achieve is just the flavor from the tomato itself. Let's turn this around. As you can see, everything is coming together now. I'm going to add my last three ingredients, which is a little tomato sauce, basil pesto, and chicken stock that I've done before. Real quick, how do you do chicken stock? Take whole chickens, because with chicken stock what you want is the marrow from the bones, the flavor from the bones itself. Take all the meat off, save some of the fat, get the bones, throw it all in there, boil it. When it comes to a boil, you shut it off, wait a little while, put your herbs in there, and then boil it again for about another hour and a half. With beef, you could be boiling it for hours. With fish stock, once it comes to a boil, you shut it and it's done. So there's different time elements for each. Let's turn this up here. Now we got everything to take this to the next level. We're going to start with our porterhouse cut of veal. Now the porterhouse cut actually has the chine bone still intact. This is a chine bone here. What you can do is you can cut through the bone and sort of take the veal completely off, which is a lot of ways what I like to do. When I'm stuffing veal, I like to use a really good cut of veal. So what I do is I just cut down the side here. The cheapest way to actually benefit from veal like this is to come home and take the whole thing off. You can make a stock with the bones. You can fabricate it to your liking. Again, what I usually do is take this off, I roast the bone, and I use it for stock. And just cut down the bone like so. Use a really sharp knife. Okay. Now what you're doing is you're completely taking all the meat off of the bone here, and leaving the bone to make for stock or what have you. And then what you have here, you just need to trim up a little bit. Obviously, we're not going to use this fat. Now, what do you do with this thing? I mean, you can do a lot with it. You can roll it, you can stuff it, you can tie it. Definitely want to take this off. Now, what I'm going to do is just keep it simple today and do some medallions, put some oil on the grill, and just grill it. What you're going to do is take this silver skin off. Same thing with filet mignon. It's always annoying to do this. That's why it's always great to have a butcher. And you just want to completely remove this. You'll have a great product if you do. Once you have it trimmed, there's always this annoying piece right over here you want to make sure you get. Okay, now we're ready to cut medallions. Got another little spot over here. And you really can use all this. If you start picking through this and really pick through the meat a lot, obviously slower than what I did, you're going to probably save yourself about $5 a pound. And if you have a big family, you can always take this veal, cut it, and freeze it. I mean, that's really how you save in the meat market today. All right, now we have beautiful medallion strips of veal. And look at the color of this veal. This is perfect stuff. This is good looking veal. All right, we're just going to use 4. Now the next cut is a rib chop cut. Now, you don't really need to take that off the bone. This is looking really good, by the way, coming together. You don't need to take that completely off the bone because it's going to make great rib chops for yourself. So here's how it looks. Now, the best chops are right here, the 4th and the 5th. So we could just stand this baby up and you go right down. And we always use the ends of the veal here to do that because you don't get the greatest cut of beef. It's probably the most fat. So what we do is use the end piece. See, this is really less attractive than this. This is beautiful. You know, this is nice. You can actually tie this. I've even tied this to keep it shaped, sear it with our salt. Salt both sides generously, because veal is tender in its beak, but it has no salt flavor whatsoever. Take your tongs, turn it over. More salt. And after I salt and pepper both sides, what I like to do is put a little grill oil on there. So I have some grill oil that's been some roasted shallots, roasted garlic, some cracked black pepper. And what we do is we bring the oil to a slow simmer. We cut the oil and the herbs stay in there for days. It's the way to do it. Okay, now this is the herb oil. Immediately smell it. Now, herb oil is great. It's something you could leave on the stove indefinitely and just kind of get back to it and stuff like that. Now, this is a silicone brush. And just lightly brush the meat. And I can already see it's coming together. I mean, it smells good. Really, really good stuff. Now I like to season it on the grill. So we'll take this side. Okay, put that grill down, and now we're going to go with our medallions. All right, so now we're going to check out our veal. Definitely, you know, I like my veal mid-rare, and you're going to see really nice marks on this. And don't stop there, because what we're going to do is brush again. You know, when you're doing this kind of technique, and you're not marinating, you know, letting the marinade break the protein fibers and making it you know, softer and more chewable. What we do at this stage is just keep making sure that the flavor is in. All right, now if you take a look at our stew, it's complete. You see the flavors and the oils that kind of just come up and grab you. You could see the pork, you could see the rice, you could see the potatoes. This is what I'm talking about. This is a good dish. Now, we're not finished yet. What I like to do is add and take some goat cheese at room temperature and move it around the whole pan. And you want just enough goat cheese that's going to enhance the flavor and not take anything away. And everything is done. You get your potatoes, you get your tomatoes in here. Variations to this dish. You could have put some yellow tomatoes in there. You could put some broccoli, some peas. Peas would be nice. And what we'll do is just take some liquid. Now let's put some goat cheese on there. Just a dollop, we'll leave that in there, and that heat from is really going to melt the goat cheese, and then you can kind of grab and dabble as you see fit. All right, now we're ready to take off this delicious veal chops. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Cooked perfect. This is really, really good. So I love veal. I love veal. I think it's a great cut. And then we got our medallions here. Now just be sure that the same dipping brush that you're using, you discard, because you know you had the raw veal on there, so you don't want to cross-contaminate. And then just take some cracked black pepper over the top, and you are done, my friends. Take some of our wine. Well, thank you so much for joining me on today's show. This Chardonnay is going to go perfect with our two dishes. Unbelievable flavor. Now we have our stew that we've made with just a little bit dollop of goat cheese and these wonderful ingredients involved. And we can't, of course, forget our veal, and I hope that you'll now buy a whole side of veal and break it down yourself. Thank you for watching this fun-filled episode of Taste This TV. I'm Chef Joe Ciminera. Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this.